Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Follow the Roads with me, Ramey Rhodes. And today I have the Challis Elementary School principal and the Challis Junior Senior High School athletic director, Mr. Paul Elston. Could you please give us a 30-second introduction as to who you are?
Sure. Thanks, Ramey, for having me on. First of all, this is the first podcast that I've ever done and ever been a part of. So I'm Paul Elston. I'm sure that a lot of people know who I am already. I've spent pretty much my whole professional career has been in smaller 1A schools. I started off, I did my internship in a big school. I interned at Jennifer Junior High School in Lewiston. And then from there went to Richfield, Idaho. From Richfield to Bonners Ferry, which I think is still kind of a small place, but at the time we had about 520 kids in the high school there. I then went from Bonners to Wallace in the Silver Valley in Shoshone County. And then I went from Wallace, moved up the hills 5-6 miles to Mullen. Mullen's really small. About, I think they have 23 kids in the high school this year. And now I'm here in Challis. So this is my second year here in Challis. So it's a brief snapshot.
Yeah. What's kind of like made you like move around a lot? Is it just kind of like trying to find the right kind of rhythm to things or right environment?
So a lot of people look at that track record and they're like, wow, this guy can't make it anywhere. My parents live up in Eastern Washington. And so the original move from Richfield up there was to get a little bit closer to them. And then they always have encouraged me my whole life and looking at different opportunities. And one of them was, they said, hey, have you ever thought about administration? Don't feel like you're tied down necessarily to us. We'll make it. We're going to be fine. Yeah. And so I was looking at that. A lot of it's just been based, Ramey, on opportunities that have presented themselves in my career and with a little bit of a connection there to my family as well.
So would you kind of say that internship that you said at the big school kind of like turned you away from kind of wanting to do that? And if so, what kind of factors kind of led to that?
So dealing with, at that time, it would be the 5A classification. Now Lewiston's 5A, but at the time they would be 6A if they still had the current classification. You're dealing with a lot of kids, which is fine. It's just big school dynamics. It's easy to get lost in the shuffle, I think, especially as a student. Whereas, in small schools, you're not going to get lost. Everybody's going to know everybody. And I like that connection of a small school. And it's nothing against a big school. I mean, I've worked, all different kinds of sporting events with big schools. But I knew from the time when I was 15 years old that I probably needed to be in education as a career. And I was an FFA growing up. And so to me, the rural, smaller school lifestyle was always something that I was pursuing. I graduated with 578 people in my high school, and it was in my high school's in North Seattle, and it's only gotten bigger, and the district's added a second high school. So I kind of knew where I needed to be, which was in a smaller setting.
What kind of music do you listen to when you're going to work in the morning?
Usually it's KSRA because it's one of the few radio stations I can get here, but that's okay. Because I like country music, kind of the older school country music, like Willie Nelson, who's still around, obviously, Hank Sr., Hank Jr., Merle Haggard, but then I'll flip the script on people, and then I'll go 80s hair bands, like Def Leppard, AC/DC, and a lot of these guys are still around today. And then I'll flip it even more and I'll go into Fleetwood Mac. We'll go into, and I'll admit this on your podcast, we'll go into ABBA, which some people are like, why would you admit that? But I have no problems admitting who I listen to.
Yeah. So what would you say like your kind of all-time favorite group is then, or artist?
That's a difficult question, man. That's a hard one. I'd have to say Fleetwood Mac's up there. They were so talented. Trying to think of some other groups that were really good. Let's see. I like listening to Alabama. I think they're really good also. Yeah. A lot of this stuff was on the radio growing up as a kid. And so we always traveled a lot. When it's on the radio, when you're little, of course, you're going to remember it. Def Leppard's hard to beat,
Yeah.
but so is AC/DC. And then you throw in some of those old school country guys and gals, and I mean,
Just hard.
it's a very difficult decision.
Mhm.
You can't go wrong, but that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah. Would it kind of be different, would you say, if it was like a longer drive? Would you choose a different medium, audiobook, podcast?
So usually what I do, and you can tell I'm a child of the 1970s, is because I just turn the radio on to whatever is in that area or region, and I just play it. I used to, back when we had CD players, I had cars that had CD players in them, and so you just pop in a CD and roll with it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, cars don't have those anymore, which is very disappointing to me. So, but that's what I do. I just flip the radio on, and if there's a game on the radio, I'll try to find it. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give us like kind of some insights on the duties of an athletic director for some who are uninitiated and kind of what you do.
So that's a great question. So there's a lot of stuff you do as an athletic director. You got to schedule games, and in Challis, that's more than just high school games. That is junior high games also. You've got to look at, home and away balances, because you really want to try to avoid as much as you can where you're playing too many games at home, too many games on the road.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't do that. Other stuff, you're looking at some of the financial stuff with the money. And then you're looking at just making sure each coach and each program has what they need to be successful. Game management, the AD is the person that's there just to make sure that things run smoothly, that you've got everybody there. So for volleyball, that means you got to find a clock person, libero tracker, scorekeeper, linesman. You got to get that covered. You got to get ticket takers set up for all those games. Basketball, it's more than just the score clock now. We have my favorite little clock that they introduced, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, Ramy?
Shot clock.
Yeah, I'll reserve my opinions on the shot clock, because when I coached, I was one of the 19% that voted to not have a shot clock. So, but we'll get into that, I'm sure, in a little bit later. But a lot of responsibilities, and I would say number one thing is just making sure that our coaches and our kids have what they need to be at their best and be successful.
Okay. What would you say is the biggest challenge of that then, like the hardest thing to do?
The hardest part of it is just making sure you got all your bases covered for all the different things that you have. Football, you got a lot of stuff because you got a chain crew, you got scoreboard, you've got announcing, and honestly, basketball is fairly straightforward in that regard. Track and field is fairly straightforward. It's just, track meets involve a lot of events.
Yes.
And there's a lot of stuff to get set up in track. Baseball is not bad. Baseball and softball, because most of the time the coaches have their own scorekeepers, and the officials, you get assigned by District 6 for that. So
yeah. And of course, I feel like I have to ask this question: how is it as a first year taking over as the athletic director over super established in Linda?
So first of all, Linda did a great job, and she was just like, she served Idaho students for so many years, continues to do that. I still ask her questions on a lot of stuff that I'm not really quite sure of. She's a great resource. And she set the bar high. And so that's an expectation that it's like, for me, I need to, and I hold myself as much as I can to these high standards, and making sure that everything is doing it the right way, first of all, and then just making sure, again, the supporting of each program, because every program's got their needs, and they're a little bit different from other people. And even, girls and boys basketball, it's the same game, but there's different things that each program would need from you. So,
what's kind of the favorite place you've ever visited?
I've been to Alaska. I drove the Alaska Highway in 2007. So we did the whole thing where you go through British Columbia and you go through the Yukon Territory, and then we drove back. And I took that trip with my dad. We were up there for 29 days. It was amazing. I would love to do it again one of these times. I enjoyed going to, and this is going to sound crazy, but I enjoyed going to North Dakota.
Oh.
And then South Dakota. Both of my grandfathers grew up respectively in each one of those states. So it was really fun to see where they grew up. I really like Idaho, man. I mean, there's so much stuff here. And there's so much of it that I haven't seen. And I have people tell me all the time, they're like, well, you've been around, you've seen all parts of the state. And it's like, we're pretty fortunate in Idaho because we got a lot of really cool stuff here.
Different places, yeah. So you kind of mentioned a little bit briefly that kind of coaching thing. Could you describe kind of what you coached, what sports kind of thing?
So I got started coaching at Richfield with the girls basketball program there. I was one of the assistant coaches, and I coached the junior high girls. I was Richfield 2002 to 2010. And was part of some of the most amazing teams I've ever honestly been around. I was a part of 2 state championship teams down there in the 1A girls, and then when they created 1A Division II, I was a part of one of those teams. Just, and take nothing away from what, you guys have done here and other schools, but that was a really special group of kids that we had at Richfield. Then at Bonners Ferry, I switched over to boys, which was a different thing. I was coaching C-team boys when they had a team up there. The C-team, I don't think they have C-team anymore, but I had a group of kids, man, that I love those kids. They worked so hard, and we won a couple games we really shouldn't have won. And that was those kids, man. They were just workers. Went to Wallace, went back to girls basketball, and then went to Mullen, and then did junior high boys and girls together. Was the girls high school assistant coach up there for my time period up there. And then when they had a need for a boys varsity coach, I filled into that role as well at the same time I was coaching girls high school as well as assistant girls. And we had a good run. I had five kids total one year, and people didn't think we were going to win a game, and we wound up going 7-11 that year, and that was a fun group of kids too. See, I've also coached golf before. Coached golf at Bonners Ferry, and then at Mullen, coached golf for their golf program there. So that's just a little bit of what I've done, but with coaching, but I've been really fortunate, Ramey, because I've had some just great kids, great people that played, and for me, and learned a lot from them, and met a lot of really good people in other schools too. I've known the Dietrich people forever. Seems like I know you guys know Dietrich pretty well.
Yeah.
And then just Clark Fork, Timberline up in Pierce. Man, who else have I run into? I mean, just all the different people that you see. Just a lot of people. And in Southern Idaho, I've run back into coaches that I knew 20 years ago, who are still around and still coaching. And it's fun to connect back with these people down here too, because there are some terrific coaches down here in Eastern and Southern Idaho for sure.
So you kind of talked about those state championship teams you were a part of. What do you think kind of like makes it like the defining characteristic that you'd say of that team that really just puts them together to be able to go on that kind of run kind of thing?
So we had, in my judgment, a great coach at Richfield, Coach Steve Kent. I learned a lot from Coach Kent, and it was more than just X's and O's. It was more than just how to coach a basketball team. It was a lot of stuff. But that 2007 team that we had, the defense they played was just phenomenal. We didn't have a kid taller than that year. I think the tallest girl we had that played a lot, I want to say, and I stand corrected if I'm wrong, but I think it was 5'7". And then in 2009 we had 5'11" girl, but the rest of them were shorter than 5'5". And those girls got after it, man. I mean, it was a lot of teams really, really didn't want to see us, just because we played such good defense. The kids put their time in the off season, and it wasn't like it was us as coaches saying, "Hey, you guys got to do this." They figured out what they wanted to do as a group of girls, and they wanted to be state champions. And they put the work in on their own when no one was watching. They would go to the city park. They would play pickup games with boys, with older people. It didn't matter. And they were tougher than nails. I mean, we had some great games with Dietrich, with Shoshone, with Butte County. We were right in that mix. And when Butte County had won like 28 straight games in a row, and we beat them in, I believe it was the 2006-07 season where we beat them in the home opener. One of the greatest games I've ever seen. Garden Valley, we had knockdown dragouts with Garden Valley. Summer ball, we'd play Sugar Salem. We had some knockdown dragouts there. Coach Jensen's still around. He's at Butte County now, coaching the boys. We didn't beat Sugar every game, but we got them a few times. And that was just summer league stuff. Our girls were just fearless. I mean, they didn't back down from anybody, and they had the skill set to do it, and they motivated each other and themselves also. So just great group of people to be around.
What are kind of some of, what kind of pets have you had through your life or even now?
So this is going to sound crazy because I live in Challis. I have no animals. I've never had any animals.
Wow.
Ever. And it's not because I'm anti-animal at all. I try to be friendly to people's pets, including my sister's dogs. I really try. You can bribe animals with treats, particularly dogs. They really like that. I've learned that. But I don't have any animals, and a lot of people think that's a little bit different, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Where'd you go to college at?
So that's a great question there too. So I started off playing college golf at Spokane Community Colleges up in Spokane, Washington. And then from there I transferred after 2 years to the University of Idaho in Moscow, and loved U of I. Great experience. That's where I got my bachelor's degree, was from U of I. And then starting in 2020, I decided that, okay, let's go ahead and get a master's degree. And so I went through Idaho State University down in Pocatello. Through that, you could do online stuff. And so I did that. I've taken either professional development or other courses from every single college in the state of Idaho, with 2 exceptions. And one of that's College of Idaho I think it's in Caldwell. Yeah. And then Boise State, and that should not be a surprise to anyone, considering my other 2 major college choices. So nothing against BSU. It's just kind of, if you're a Vandal and you're a Bengal, you get it. So.
Yeah. What kind of hobbies do you have?
So I really like the outdoors. I wish I could hunt more. I wish I could go fishing more, but it's all good. I was able to get out this summer on the North Fork of the Clearwater River twice. And just get away for a week at a time, and that was great. I grew up playing golf. I've got pretty severe astigmatism. That's why I wear bifocals. And so when my parents were little, or when I was little, and my parents were deciding, what are we going to have this kid do? And it was either find a sport without a ball or one where you hit the ball. And so we tried golf, and I fell in love with the game at 4 years old. I wish I could play more golf than I currently am able to play, but it is what it is. My competitive career, I mean, I miss it, but I'm at a different point now recreationally, just playing golf, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you hit a bad shot, who cares? It doesn't matter. Yeah. If you fly one over the green because you have the wrong yardage or whatever happens, who cares?
It's okay.
Yeah, everything's going to be good. I really like officiating. Doesn't matter what level, junior high, high school. I've been fortunate enough to work a small handful of college games in a couple different sports. So that's the short answer to your question, Ramey, about that.
Okay. And then piggybacking on that referee question, like what kind of insight would you say that you don't really get if you're not reffing, like saying to someone who who would be mean to refs, like
Right.
this kind of thing.
So it's a whole different look at the game.
Mm-hmm.
I would advise anybody, particularly college kid, and I know that you're a senior this year.
Yeah.
It's a great way to earn extra dollars for college kids if you're so inclined to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They're always looking for new people to work games. As an official, you see the game differently because you're trying to, like in football, I have my areas. Like I was an umpire, and that's the guy that makes ESPN for the wrong reasons because he usually gets blown up.
Yeah.
He's that guy that's in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I have my keys, which is what I'm initially looking at. And then I have the things, okay, is it a run play? What am I looking for in a run play? And then is it a pass play? So I'm reading my offensive linemen, and what they do dictates what I do. And, there's certain things that we're looking at. Contrary to what a lot of people think, we don't go looking for stuff. I think, good officials are going to let the game come to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer you do it, I can tell you that your brain will actually slow things down. And when you watch like varsity basketball, I mean, I know you've played varsity ball for a long time. And to the casual observer, there's a lot of stuff going on, in a basketball game. But when you're out there playing, I don't know for you, does it slow down a little bit?
Oh yeah, a lot, yeah.
And we do the same thing. We go through the same thing when we're officiating. Is that I remember when I was first officiating, it's like, holy cow, everything's moving so fast. But then as you work through more games, you get more experience, things will start to slow down. And then you figure out, okay, you anticipate where's the next play going to go. Therefore, where should I be looking? That kind of a thing. And then in football, especially, and everything, it's a lot of it's about self-preservation too, because you don't want to get blown up. You want to get yourself into a position where you can stay safe and still call the game.
Yeah.
And I'd worked hockey before as well as a linesman, and it's kind of the same story in hockey because you can get pretty badly hurt if you're not paying attention and stuff like that. Baseball, I've done baseball, softball before, and that's a different dynamic there because behind the plate is whole different than being on the bases out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And then volleyball is, one person, because I've done volleyball too. One person's got the ball, and then the other person basically has the net and substitutions. And so each sport has its very unique parts to it. I just love being on the court. I love being on the field. And officiating is a great way that a person can stay involved in it. I wish I could do more of it, but
mm-hmm.
my life's in a different place now, and I still get to ref a little bit here and there. So
that's good. I guess kind of what I was
mm-hmm.
thinking of, what was that kind of first game? How did you kind of get into it kind of thing and like reffing that one? How nervous were you? Those kind of things.
So I was pretty arrogant, I guess, because when I was 18 years old, I was watching these games and I thought, well, I could do as good as these guys can do. And so I was being in college at the time. I was like, well, okay, let's make some money on the side. And so that's kind of where it started. And then as I figured out, it's like, okay, this is something that you have to work at quite a bit if you want to advance up the ranks. And I mean, everybody has to go through it if you want to work your way up. And so I went through challenges where, I'll fully admit to anybody, I mean, calls were missed.
Yeah.
And situations I didn't handle certain situations as well as I should have. But you'll learn from that. Mm-hmm. And if you want to get better at anything, you take those mistakes and you learn from it. But yeah, I remember my first varsity game I was 19 years old. And two of the players in the game, as I found out after the fact, were also 19 years old. And so when you're out there, and it was a basketball game, and there's a decent crowd. I mean, the game wasn't very close, but it was definitely, the adrenaline, you feel it. And anybody that says they don't get nervous before big games, I don't know, man. As a ref, we get nervous too. We look up, who we got, and yeah, you feel it too. It's different as a player, as you well know. There's different things that go through your mind and stuff, and when you're playing in the game. But officials, we get up for stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I guess because you kind of said that kind of way, and from my perspective, it's like you can like get nervous, but then once I start, it's just fine. Is that kind of the same for?
Absolutely right. If they would do away with warm-ups, I'd be totally fine. I don't know what you feel about having 20 minutes or 15 minutes before you play a game when you're just out there doing a layup line or drills. I mean, but as a ref, like, nothing against the game of volleyball. I like it, but come on, man, 7 minutes, and then you get to watch the same thing for 7 more minutes, and it's like flip a coin and let's go.
Yeah.
And I love volleyball, but it's just that it's that time before the games, and then football, it's even more because it's supposed to be half an hour where we're out on the field. And after you talk to both coaches, I mean, you got like 20 minutes, and you're just like, okay, what do we do now? And so that's where you try not to think too much about the matchup you got. You want to get yourself loose and start running a little bit and everything. But it's something that warm-up time, I wish there was a way we could shorten it somehow, but that's just one man's opinion, and it's not because I ref and I want to get out of there.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, I'm like pretty already amped before I get out there, and then it's like,
yeah, once the game gets going, everything's usually pretty good. I mean, you get those first couple possessions over with, and then you just settle in. I mean, that's what we go through. I know as a player, you go through something probably similar but different to that. So
yeah. What kind of led you to choose administration as a long-term career?
That is also a very good question. I guess I believed I could do it. Kind of like with teaching, I thought, you know what, I need to do this. I taught for 22 years. I taught practically every history class you can think of. Did some English, high school and junior high. Done driver's ed. Yes, driver's ed is what you think it is. There's never a dull moment, particularly putting kids on the I-90, and they've never driven before, at least what they've told me. So, and it's not like we were just throwing kids randomly that didn't have experience and stuff out there. But yeah, driver's ed, anyone who asks me, I was like, yeah, it is what you think it is. But back to your point, I looked at administration because I believe I can do it. I'm not perfect at all. I like to think that I'm improving at that role. But it's a position that I looked at and I was like, I can do this. I can make this happen. It's a way different than being a regular classroom teacher, because you have way different responsibilities and things that some things you don't have, and then there's other things that you do have. But I guess I just, to borrow a phrase, I bet on myself, and always trying to get better.
Nice. Like early on, what kind of influenced you to do that? And also, were there any other options you were considering?
Well, I was looking at a career in golf, because I call it mowing other people's lawns. I did golf maintenance going through college in the summer, and it was a great job, but it's kind of hard because that time I was making $8.50 an hour. And even back then that was kind of hard. I mean, for a college kid, it was a great job. But then I looked at education, and I originally was thinking about being an ag teacher, because of my experience in FFA. But I looked at the science requirements and the math requirements, and those are not my strongest fields. I'll admit that to anybody. And so then I was like, well, what about teaching history? And I was sitting there as a 15-year-old, and I'm going, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become a history teacher. I had some great teachers in my life. My ag teacher, Mr. Cotterill, who was our FFA advisor. He also coached basketball. And then just a whole list of people, but who inspired me. My parents were like, yeah, you can do this. So my dad was a teacher, and then my mom should have taught. She would have been really good with pre-K, K first grade. But my parents motivated me to do that. I had teachers that were telling me, it's like, you should get into education. I was like, yeah, I think you're right, because I think I can do this. In fact, I know I can do this. And I loved the whole idea of being a part of high school sports, which you're heavily involved in, and just the school setting. Obviously, as a teacher and admin, it's a different, different thing. But it's kind of funny because I tell people I haven't left school since I was 4 years old. I've been at school every year. So,
Wow. What kind of like, what do you kind of like better, being administrative role or teaching?
they both have things that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Classroom teaching, I loved teaching U.S. history too. So that time frame, especially from 1900 through about 1950, because there's so many things going on. And I like to share the history of what happened. Okay, here's what actually happened, and how it impacts the world still today. Because there's a lot of things that you can go back and connect just to World War I, as I'm sure you're learning and have learned in your history classes here. Just so many things. So I miss that part of it, as far as the engagement with kids, teaching them about stuff that they didn't know about. I actually taught a junior high Idaho history semester, and kids loved it because I got to share when I was in Richfield, I shared a lot of the northern Idaho stuff with the kids down there. Then I went north, then I shared a lot of the eastern and southern Idaho stuff with those kids up there, and so I enjoyed that. Administration is, again, it's a whole different ball of wax. I like interacting with kids still. I try to, as much as I can, be out in the front here every day when we have school and just seeing kids and seeing how they're doing and checking in with them. So that's one of my favorite parts of admin, is actually dealing with the kids. Some people think, oh my goodness, you got to discipline the kids, which is true. I mean, when you have things that happen, you get to deal with them as an admin, but interacting with kids, I'd say probably for both is a highlight for me.
What's the hardest part about that?
About the
administration part?
Just there's only so much time in a day, and I'm sure that Mrs. Rimbelski can tell you that there's only so much time in a day, and a lot of times there's things that come up, and it's not that you wouldn't deal with it, but you have to deal with it, and you have to handle it right now, and you've got to get it right, and you've got to get it right now. And so you have to be willing to be flexible and adaptable. Just speaking to give a shout out to Challis Elementary School, our staff is great. They understand that so there are times when Mr. Elston's got stuff that he has to handle and deal with right now, but he's not going to forget about you, because I don't want to forget about him. Our staff here is very, very, very good to work with. They have a good understanding of what goes through administration and what admin gets to deal with. But yeah, there's things that it's like you always expect the unexpected in administration, because it's like I told kids when I was a classroom teacher, you should always come to school every day, because it's going to be different every day. Something's going to be different.
How would you say is working with, because this is a pretty veteran staff here at the elementary, how is that kind of coming into, I guess, their kind of culture in a way?
So you are correct. We have a lot of experience here, and it's experience that I lean on a lot too. Because when you have people that have those experiences that maybe you don't have, you can learn a lot from them. Yes, I'm the principal, I'm the supervisor of the staff, but that doesn't mean that you can't learn from them. Right. And you can gain knowledge from them. And I mean, I spent 22 years in 7 through 12 education, never had set foot in a grade school other than just, popping in here or there. And I know that was a big transition for me, was to go into the K through 6 world, because it's a whole different world than 7 through 12. And there's good things to both, the 7 through 12 world and then the K through 6 world. But we have a really good staff of veteran teachers. We have some people that we've been able to bring on board here recently. And, this crew that we have, because I call them a crew, I really try to avoid calling them a staff or teachers. I compare it to like football officiating or basketball or baseball. You've got your crew, and you have to work as a crew and be the best that you can be on that game. And so our crew here, they work together so well. and they communicate so well with each other. And it really, really is helpful for me, particularly when I go into secondary mode sometimes. Sometimes I have those slip-ups where I go secondary 7 through 12 mode. So, but I mean, when I say that, it's not like, we're getting angry about stuff. It's just my brain sometimes goes back to the 7 class periods a day, and it's like, oh, well, we don't have that.
Yeah. So what is like the main difference that you can kind of see in that? Also, kind of how you're saying, like how you have to kind of act differently. What's like the defining thing about that between higher and lower?
So what I've learned is that a lot of elementary kids, and they're great kids, but the sarcasm thing, sometimes you may want to go a different way, because they're very much black and white with their explanations and how they interpret stuff. And we were all that way growing up. At least I know I was. Secondary stuff, you can say, things certainly that are appropriate for school, but you can say something and you can make a comment, and the kids will usually pick up on it and get it. Although one fun thing I will admit that I would do with junior high kids, particularly incoming 7th graders, is because at Mullen we had combined classes, and so the 7th and the 8th graders were together. And so the 8th graders knew what was coming, and so I'd put on my chalkboard, I'd write the number 307-867-5309, which is the Tommy Two-Tone song. And then I would tell the incoming 7th graders, and I was like, I've got ocean property for you in Wyoming. And they would just look at me and they would go, really? And I was like, yeah, there's the number right there on the board. And you want to write this number down. And the 8th graders, you would watch them, and they'd be falling out of their desks because they know what's going to happen. And so the 7th graders, man, they'd be writing that down in their notebooks. And then we had to hit them with the brutal truth, usually a couple of days later. It's like, yeah, that's a song, and I can't believe you fell for it. So it's just stuff like that that, where an older group of kids is going to pick that up better, just because they've had more experience. And they've matured, and they've, seen some things in the news, and they've seen some things in culture. And whereas, elementary, they've got a story for you. And it's great. I mean, I don't mind listening to their stories. I really don't. But a lot of kids really want to share, what they did, what they did over the weekend. And, do they have an animal? Do they have a person that they went and saw? And so you will get to hear that. And I'm totally good with that, because that's their way of sharing something that's important that they have with me. And I value that.
So working at Mullen, being that really small from what you described, really, really, really small, how would you kind of describe that, and what are some of the challenges with that, but also some of the strengths?
So challenges, after my first year there, we never were really sure if we were going to have a football team. And so what we did is we got creative, and a lot of people didn't like it, but we reached out to St. Regis, Montana, and we formed a co-op in football, an interstate co-op, and we played out of Idaho. And a lot of people in Idaho did not like that. We played out of District 1, which is the league name of the league up there is North Star League. So you never really knew if you were going to have a football team from one year to the next until we went to the co-op. And now, I mean, I think they have 3 kids is all that play football, and now they make the drive to St. Regis. And they're playing out of Montana now. It's Mullen. I remember the last game that was played on that field, a varsity game. It was a state playoff game. And I took a couple pictures because I kind of knew that it was, the time was running short on Coach Drager Field being utilized, which is sad because Mullen has such a proud tradition with athletics. Basketball, one year I played the whole year with 5. We had 3 kids that played every single second of every single game that season. Same thing with the girls program. We had to write to the state to get 8th graders declared eligible. And then the individual sports, you might have 1 or 2 kids sometimes. The pros of that, everybody got to play a lot, a lot of minutes. We were able to, in football, we had some really successful teams. We went on a nice run for about, I think it was 5 or 6 years where we won the North Star League. We had to do one of them in a Kansas City shootout because we tied with Lakeside, and we had to play on a Tuesday night over in Kootenai High School because it was a neutral environment. And we were only there for 8 minutes, but it was pretty cool because we were able to get a stop, and then we scored on the second play of our series. Well, it was the other way around. We scored, and then we were able to get a stop. But those Kansas City shootouts are so nerve-wracking. Like, as an official, they are too, because you might be there for only 1 or 2 plays, and it's over. And it's the same thing when you're watching your team play. But we were able to do some really cool things. We were able to win some games there that we shouldn't have won. We did beat Wallace twice in a row, which was a big deal for us because we were, very small. We had, I think, 34 kids in the high school the last time we beat Wallace when I was the coach up there, and Wallace is running about 140 in the high school, and they had some good programs at Wallace too, and we were able to get them at their place a few years ago, and then we won the first game we played against them the next season up in Mullen. So I'm sure they didn't like that, but it was okay. I was okay with Mullen doing that. So,
who do you kind of talk to when you feel stuck?
So I've got a really good support group. My family's great. They're incredible people. And I know that probably is a biased opinion, but it's the truth. And then I have some good friends that I reach out to and talk to them, call them as needed. And these are people that are always there. And I try to be there for them when they need it too.
What do you kind of see that is unique about our school, whether it's elementary school or the high school?
So one of the things that I learned last year, and it was really fun, and I know it was fun for you guys to be like literally doing it and living it. That's the best part, is how competitive Challis is. And I've told a lot of people this. It's like, these kids don't like losing, and they take it personal. And we attempt to do it the right way. We're not out there, doing silly stuff. We're just going to try to outwork you. We're going to try to beat you. And, the ride that the girls took us on last year with basketball going to state.
Yeah.
And then right on the heels, we have a bunch of wrestlers going to their state tournament. Then we have boys basketball, and you guys are doing all this stuff at the same time. And just watching you guys compete, I really enjoy that because you guys do not like losing. And I think that's something that is a great quality to have. And you guys, from everything I've seen, you guys do it the right way. You don't whine and complain about it. You're just like, okay, I guess we got to get better. And, here's what we need to do. The coaches have come up with some really good stuff, just, adjustments and things. And then you guys went out there and did it. And it was, I love watching kids. First of all, defense is near and dear to my heart, but I love watching kids play and compete and just not give up. And, I watched it with all the different sporting programs. And that's what I tell people about Challis. It's like, you might get us, but you're going to have to really work hard to get us. And that's something that you guys bring to the table. And I'm really, really fortunate to be a part of that.
Yeah. So I have here a little bit of staple, kind of pick 3 cards and then hand them back to me and just random questions.
Watch this. I'm going to do what you should never do, which is pick off the bottom of the deck. I can get you into trouble if you're playing cards.
Yeah. Okay. What toy would you like to invent?
That is a good question. Yeah. Might not be a toy, but something that we can use like in a high school football or junior high for that matter. So we don't have to bring the chains onto the field. And I don't know if that's a laser beam that you shoot across the field, because these things are really accurate. And the chains are kind of an old school part of football from like 120 years ago. I just think if the technology is available, that would be something I would like to invent. And I think every football official would be very supportive of that.
Yeah. If you own your own island, what would you do for fun?
Well, I'd build a golf course, and I would design it, and I'd play a lot of golf, and I would make sure that we had plenty of resources for fishing and for hunting, because I like those things as well. Let's see, what else would I do? Play a lot of golf, and probably spend a lot of time just wandering around. I would try to make sure I picked a good island and not one that's desolate or something like that. Although though you can get good deals on the desolate stuff.
Yeah. If you could send one item back in time to your great grandmother, I guess grandparents, what would you choose?
That is a great question. Probably not a cell phone, because they wouldn't know what to do with it. But send item. That is a good question. I'm trying to think. Probably send them just something so that they knew how I was doing, if that makes sense. Just whether it was a picture or something that, I had done, or it's like, your grandson is not in prison. He's not a bum. Here's what he's doing, just so that,
something,
if that makes sense.
Be proud of kind of thing.
Yeah, just so they know it's like, our offspring are not causing problems. So.
Perfect. Lastly, is there any question that you're wanting to ask me that I can answer?
So what are you thinking for a career? You want to get into this podcast thing?
I've kind of talked about this before, where I don't see this as kind of like maybe not right word sustainable, but just kind of a thing where it's not something I want to be really into, competitive kind of thing, where I just would prefer it as like a hobby, not having to worry about all these things and making sure, where kind of in a way, like if I mess up or if something sounds weird, it's not like end of the world and it's over. And of course, the podcast is a medium. It's a hard thing to get into and to stand out, as a lot of it's super easy to make now. I mean, I did all this in about just going on Amazon, buying it, and then just putting it in a audio file and then just putting it on things. So it's a lot of competition and everything. But the career that I am looking towards is I went and worked an apprenticeship here in Challis for an electrician, and I really, really love that. Like, to the point where for like my grandma and like my mom and dad, I'm putting in electrical stuff, whether it's outlets or lights or outside breakers and things like that. I just really like that, and I'd like to keep going with that.
That's a great career choice. The Votech stuff, when I was teaching high school, I always would have kids that would say, well, what do you think about, being a millwright or a welder or an electrician? And I'd say, go do it, man. I mean, there is so much demand for those careers. And it's like I told kids, you can wind up getting your certification, and you can wind up eventually, in a short amount of time, if you work at it, you can make more money than I am.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have work. And so like with an electrician, I mean, there's people that are willing to pay top dollar. You might have to go places, to get those high paying jobs.
Yeah.
But I think it's a limitless career that has a lot of good. And so if that's something that, Ramey, that you like to do, I would encourage you 100% to do it.
Yeah. I
have former students that talk to me and they're like, yeah, I'm, been a millwright now for 3-4 years. I'm making $80,000 a year. Those are just some examples. And, up where I was at previously, yes, the mine pays well. I mean, as an 18-year-old, you could make $115,000, $120,000 right out of the gates, but it's also a very dangerous job, and it's a very demanding job. And so if you could find a way, to stay above ground, for example, and, still work hands-on Votech stuff, I'm all for that. And if a kid wants to go underground, more power to them. I have lots of former kids that currently work underground up there. And it's not easy. I mean, no job's easy, obviously, but I think the Votech jobs, there's a huge demand for that. And I would encourage you to pursue that if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, and it's kind of a thing where I was always like really hard trying to like find what I really kind of wanted to do. And because a lot of people see me as like a smart person, I think to a degree I am. But I also like doing like the manual labor stuff. So that just was like a perfect mix of both, where it was a problem solving kind of thing, but also tangible thing, doing it with your hands. And also like the other stuff I was looking at before where it was like a computer programmer kind of thing. With the advent of AI, it's been like, I'm like glad I didn't choose that in a way, because hard to replace a electrician kind of thing. So it's good security and it's in demand, and it's just, I think, good future, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. And if you get really good at it, your business only goes up.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to be like, yeah, you need to go talk to Rhodes. He'll get you, he'll get you fixed up there. So I strongly encourage you to do that. You know, we always had people telling us when I was growing up, you know, oh, you need to go and get a 4-year degree. Well, that's great. You know, I'm not anti-college, obviously, but everybody has something that might be a little bit different that they want to do. And if you as a person want to go that VOTEC route, I think that's wonderful, because we've got big demand for those positions. And like I say, if you get really good at it, you're going to get even more business.
Yeah. Any last remarks or anything?
That's about all I got. I know that's kind of the interesting statement of the day, but that's about all I got. I'm just, you know, we've got a big week of sports for us this week here, and if you're able to, get out there and support the football team on Friday. Big game with Rockland, 7 p.m. And then girls volleyball districts is over at Challis on Saturday. So if you're over there, please, if you can and are able to, stop in and watch the girls play. We've got some big events going on, as everybody's well aware of. So I would just encourage people, if you can and you're able to, go support the Challis Vikings this week.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for your time, and thanks to everyone for listening. Your support means everything. Wow. If you have feedback, let me know, and I'll see you next time on Follow the Roads. Thank you.